The top 10 albums of May were primarily death metal records selected by me for the most part. I think that there's been a pretty decent glut of proper death metal and interesting death metal coming out this year. Nothing all that experimental, nothing all that wild beyond the kind of traditional shit that's out there, but lots to talk about here this month in that regard. Between melodic black metal, grindcore, avant-garde, metal, and progressive rock, there was a lot to kind of stick with here. Plenty of other records we're talking about that didn't just quite make the cut here. These are my choices, make your own. And we'll start here with number 10, Exil Wunter from Pio Lune. This is a Polish black metal trio. They've just upgraded from a duo to a trio. It's a melodic black metal band, an atmospheric black metal band, and kind of a proper modern Polish black metal group in a certain style. You could compare them to Mgła in some respect, but it's not necessarily all that they're all about. It isn't as heavy and aggressive as I typically like melodic black metal to be in relation to the old school style. I think this is a talented band who make songs that are memorable for my taste. At number 9, we have Meltification with Meltification. This is a debut full-length album from a fellow who's known for hardcore punk in the early 2000s, as well as some other groups, and he's brought in a brutal death metal drummer to realize his vision of classic grindcore. And to me, it sounds a lot like Enemy of the Music Business era Napalm Death, kind of the revival of that classic sound in the early 2000s and all of the bands that it influenced. Not exactly Nazome, but not that far from the debut either. And it's a great record because there's just riffs all over it. It isn't the most original or unheard of thing, but it's a great example of it. And I think a lot of people could definitely hang with this, even if you're just a fan of like Terrorizer and nothing else. You'll appreciate what this record is doing and have the precision that it does it with. The return of Lagos with Vigil is pretty impressive in the sense that it is a modern death metal band and one that has modern influences and a lot of varietal influences injected into their sound, but there's still that core influence from like Morbid Angel and Immolation informing the way that they produce atmosphere and riffs and kind of the connection and intensity of everything. There's a lot more shredding on this record. There's clean production all over it. It's very good sounding record. It's easy to hang out with, but there's a doomed affect to it that makes it more interesting for my taste, and they have a lot to say within. It's a cool record. The Secret of Death is definitely the 9th album from Desecracy, and what I mean by that is that you know exactly what this band sounds like. There's a couple of spots where there's some keyboards or synth injected. There's a couple of breaks from some of their normal register, but for the most part you're getting exactly what you would expect from this long-standing solo death metal project, and probably one of the more interesting bands to sort of form their own sound out of old school style and kind of make it their own, make it their signature in the way that they perform and write it. So the chasmic, cacophonic element of their sound is certainly still there. The production's a little bit sharpened, but overall you're getting to Secrecy the way that they plainly have been for a long time. By the Word is the second full-length album we've gotten from Trelldom after reforming or reconstituting their vision as avant-garde metal rather than pure black metal. This is a group from Gaul that started back in the early 90s, and beyond the first 3 albums and the late 2000s, he's envisioned something that is purely experimental in most respects, but it is also contained, repeatable, and fairly listenable. It isn't the most challenging avant-garde metal record that you're going to hear this year, but it is also one that is a pleasure to go back to and experience. To me, it's like listening to a psychedelic rock record in some respect, but there's also this Ved Wenzend and Aranzi Pazuzu kind of chill to it. There's a dark tension to it, and there's an animalistic voicing to it that is impressive. And the way that he's developed his cleaner vocal styles has made for one of his better records beyond kind of the Gall's Weird era and all that. So check it out. Number 5, we have Dwellers of the Twilight Void. This is the second full-length album from Desolus, a Washington, D.C. and Maryland-based thrash metal band and extreme thrash metal band who are heavily influenced by stuff like Creator and early Dark Angel and whatnot. The rapid-fire, aggressive pace of their work sustains. The raw production values are there. It really is a great sophomore full-length album. It's riff after riff. It's manic, crazed aggression, and everything you kind of want as a fan of death thrash or late 80s thrash metal on the kind of brutal side. And this was just an awesome record to pick up and check out. At number 4, we have the 7th full-length album from Massachusetts-born and Berlin-based progressive rock band Elder. Progressive psychedelic rock might be the better way to put it. There's certainly some krautrock influence in there too, and you definitely feel that influence from early electronic music and progressive rock on this record in particular, but it is a continuation of the work beyond 2020, where they leaned further into the progressive rock dynamic in their songwriting. These are some of the most involved and sort of head-down, focused-in songs from the band, and I think if you like that immersive value, you'll appreciate this record as much as I did. Ascension is the debut full-length album from Nedgravd. This is a Norwegian death metal band, and one that is obviously heavily influenced by Infestor. From the artwork to the sound to the way that they arrange these songs, it's very clear where they kind of took their spiritual guide. But you could look at stuff from like Molested, Imprecation to Abzu's first record, and you'll find some of that in this record, either by proxy or just by observation, that these involved and strange death metal pieces kind of resolve in a way that is in line with a lot of classic kind of early to mid 90s death metal, and I appreciated it quite a bit. I think it's an awesome record. There's like a dumbass self-titled interlude in there that's kind of annoying, but the full record is great. At number 2, we have the 4th full-length album from Norwich, England-based death doom metal band Consecration. Exanimus is their finest record to date. It is their most polished, their most to the point, their most riff-forward. They've cut back on their song lengths enough to make this record a full impact. All 8 of the songs are exceptional, and with some patience, they really develop a great record here that is thus far been pretty underrated. And at number 1, there could not be any other choice here. I think Beckoning the Void of Eternal Silence is not only the best death metal record released this month, but also a bit of an argument for the movement that they took part in starting, which is kind of a conglomeration of classic death metal forms that were pulled from a lot of European and United States influences and then injected into the greater sphere of the internet, educated folks in the early 2000s. The revival of the band beyond the original members was a little bit questionable for me in 2016. I have to admit, I didn't really care back then. It wasn't that great of an EP, but I do think this album makes up for that by being an impressive continuation of the original sound and idea of the band, taking it a little bit out of the underground and into something that is just big. And I think it makes for an awesome record that still sounds like old school death metal, and it still has that gnarl of Finnish death metal. It has the dramatism of Swedish death metal and the aggressive grinding pulse of it as well. Either way, check out this record. It's fantastic. definitely comment and let me know what your favorite records were from this month. I'm sure I missed a ton of great shit. Let me know if there was death metal, thrash metal, black metal, doom metal that I missed. And make sure you like, subscribe, and read the website. Make sure you check those words out and absorb them into your brain.